Russell Brand. I'm not going to give you a life story and a backstory of him or anything. I'm not going to do that necessarily, but from my perspective, rose to prominence presenting Big Brother, came through as a bit of a presenter comedian, London, had his own troubles with narcotics. Big up Sal's, first time chatter, big up Sal's. I could put off a Russell Brand cosplay, but I'm not going to now. Rose to prominence through the Big Brother early years, didn't he? Like E4 and stuff like that. Being a cheeky presenter with comedic British-style jokey humour. I'm just going to quickly change my settings to just chatting. And I also consider he progressed from there to being a sort of lifestyle guru, anti-establishment. Like we were talking about cults today, and thus, like, very reminiscent of the Charles Manson story, going through a sort of Eastern mysticism, exotic mystic, almost like semi-Buddhist approach, becoming a bit of a guru figure, and then also moving from that into social justice, anti-establishment causes, part of the more modern anti-establishment. I see him as a sort of post-zeitgeist film thinker in ways. It's funny because I also associate Russell Brand with football. He wrote a couple of books about football. I also associate him with football. So I don't, me personally, I haven't bought into this more modern interpretation of himself, this social commentator, as much as. It's really weird because I guess some of my friends from when I was younger would say, oh no, Russell Brand's just like you. You and Russell Brand used to have similar, like the way he goes on about all this anti-establishment stuff, you're a bit like that, you yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but there's something that doesn't, I don't quite, I feel like he's almost I feel like there's a funny aspect, there's a strange aspect to it, and I don't agree with everything. Yeah, I don't agree with everything. Let's just say that. He's almost like a neo Alex Jones figure in the UK, and I understand and agree with a lot of it, but I think he almost takes it too far and becomes almost deliberately too contrarian in some ways. Can't quite put my finger on it, but I believe that what's happened recently, a really interesting aspect of this, is that someone on Twitter, I didn't see exactly who it was, I didn't retweet them, I don't know exactly, so shouts out to whoever it was. This lady had made a video and she was basically saying that Russell Brand, since the start of the Me Too movement, knew that he was in line for copping some flack on that front, so has decided to cultivate an audience of anti-establishment, anti-mainstream media thinkers, so that when the mainstream media out him, he can turn to his audience and say, look, they hate me. They're always going to do this because they hate me. And like that he's always planned this defense. Like in case anything comes out, he has cultivated this audience of anti-established media thinkers. And I don't think that's entirely true. I don't think he's played such a strange long game, but I think it just happens to have fallen in his lap this way. There's a couple more important things to note about his character, which is that he's always talked about sexual things. You know, he's always been a bit of a sexual deviant, so to speak. Talked about it, part of his stand-up, you know, part of his past, what have you. Seen as a bit of a Lothario as well, so, you know, that's been in his character and brand, not surname brand, but, you know, his brand, hasn't it, in a way. There's only one other thing that strikes me that I feel like I want to talk about before we get going about him, which is that he was on Jonathan Ross's show, and didn't he get like Jonathan Ross cancelled off the radio by doing a bit, weren't they doing a bit, and this guy's daughter was offended, the guy from Fawlty Towers, something like that. So he's not always seen eye to eye with the establishment media, and in fact his run on the establishment media was curtailed by his own behaviour. So the idea that he would start working in anti-establishment media is not just born of his own desire to cushion himself against future shocks. It's also the fact that he was literally binned off the establishment, wasn't he? He was like poo-pooed off it. So since then, he's plied his trade on social media. And like I say, I believe that there is... I believe at the start, Russell was actually speaking certain truths about the failings of our political structure. You know, I believe right at the start of his journey on that, he kind of was. And I think at some point he's become sort of like, he kind of needs to talk about something controversial every day on his stream to keep the numbers up. And like, he's kind of become like, it's almost like he looked at Alex Jones and what was going on there and said, if I apply this and do this and change it a bit here, I could create this on the internet. And so now he's doing that. And I kind of feel like he's developed a brand rather than like, because bear in mind, all this is anti-capitalist, all this anti-establishment stuff. Like, you know, he's still making lots of money, isn't it? He's still spending lots of money. Like, you know, this is the funny thing about it, is he's doing it all, you know, on Google platform. Well, he might be on Rumble now as well, but you know what I mean? He's doing it on the internet. In pursuit. Go on then. Go on. Go on then. Go on then, quick, because I'm... Go on. He's doing it all on the internet in pursuit of his own financial gain, really. You know, I don't think he's really trying to change society. He's got a lovely backdrop there. He's got, like, it's all part of a business plan to create a media package that sells Russell Brand, his idea, to a certain group and community who will be supportive of him. That's the whole plan for years now, since he's been on social media. So I haven't followed him politically for these reasons. I don't have any, you know, I don't know exactly what he's been saying politically recently, but that's my overview of what I think he's like. My baseline of what he's like for body language is difficult, of course, because I've seen him performing. Most of the time when I see him, it is performing. Even now, this is going to be a performance, recorded, pre-recorded, scripted, all that sort of business. But yeah, of course, I should finally say, I don't know exactly what the allegations are against him either, but I believe the allegations are sexual misconduct in the form of the R word, which now on YouTube we're not allowed to say words, are we? But like, honestly, yeah, I found out recently through that things do get swiftly demonetized, and I don't really want to push it too hard on those fronts tonight, but that's the allegation. And also that he had a 16-year-old that he was seeing after school, sort of like getting her picked up with the BBC car after school, which the funny thing about that is it's echoes of Philip Schofield and it's echoes of Jimmy Savile in funny ways. But again, that's something I did say about the Philip Schofield thing that I will say about this is age gaps and all that, like, problematic. But if they're over the age of consent, then at least he's not doing that, is he? He's not in the P word, paedophilia ballpark. Oh yeah, in America as well, you're right, Dover and Dolly's mom, he made a good transition over to America to be anti-government, whatever you'd call it, on the American scene as well. Now he's a YouTube figure. He speaks in more global political terms, and I believe he knows that there's a group of people that want to hear certain things, and that he can voice those opinions on the internet and, you know, run good numbers on it. You know, it's a fair enough position to be in. I just don't know if his heart and soul is in all of those politics, or whether he just acts as a mouthpiece because it's like a good job for him. Like, I don't know. And yeah, so he's been accused of these things, the R word things, and also having this relationship. If someone's over the age of consent, I do think that at the bottom line, like, you know, he's not broken any laws there. So there's that. But the other one is definitely breaking laws, like the R word one. So I don't know exactly what he has and hasn't done. We're doing a body language read on him. That's what's going to happen. And I'm going to just be open-minded to see what I see and see what he says. I will say that this very first frame that I've had it paused on for ages doesn't look good to me. The cat now wants to come in. I've just literally let you out. Don't start all this, please. This wanting to get control of the situation. This wanting to get, you know, hands-on, shut down, control. Like, obviously that's the intention of this video, isn't it? But wanting to get the hands-on, the shut down, the control, that's what I'm seeing here. So let's see what he's got to say.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack...
Staring directly into camera. I think he's got an auto cue. I think he's got auto cue, so I think this has been written probably by him and other people. Immediately I'm seeing a disconnect between his eyes and his like expressive hand gestures, almost like a dead sadness in his eyes.
And undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received...
Very... I know he always talks quickly, and I know he always, like, you know, says a lot and has a lot to say, but here he's breathy. He's nervous and breathy, gasping for breath there. Here, I am the news. So he doesn't want, like, as much as you might say, oh, he loves it, the attention, all this business. He doesn't want to be the, like, he is the news, and it's causing him anxiety.
2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email.
And he's holding up these things. He's very expressive with his hands, isn't he?
A letter.
Thing over here.
And an email.
And a thing here. And there's almost a look of concern and shock, like almost like surprise, fear. I'd say fear. It's interesting, these are objects in space. A letter, an email.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Thanks. That was, I can't say who it was, but I think it's because I said a letter. This is exactly the moment straight away I knew it would happen, where I feel like recording these first and giving myself, like, 'cause it's the first time I've seen this, like giving myself some time to think about it. So I'm just going to take some time to think about it and have a think while we, you know, while we do this. I bet also what I tend to do is when I edit these body language ones, I see things after in the edit and say, oh, you could have said this. Well, then I can put it in, but I don't have that luxury here, so hang on.
Attack and undermine the news in all its corruption. The video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news.
We critique, attack and undermine. Like, this is presenter mode, isn't it? Talking with the hands. Like, it's something that he's learned, and like if you were sat with someone in a restaurant and they were doing this, unless they were Italian, no offense, not trying to be racial, but unless you're Italian, like, this is a bit too much. But as a presenter, it's not. So I'm trying to read the body language, but this is where, you know, baselines and presenting, I think I discount some of that in a way as well, because it's all for show. But then this is a man who is quite often about the for show, because he does shows. He's very, I don't want to say expressive. I think he understands how to control social situations with behaviour and performance, and he's very dramatic and performative. And even on a one-to-one basis, I think he is like that. A lot of energy goes into it. So, but in this situation, I'm seeing almost like a scared person behind the performance. Like, underneath it, there's a scared person who's scared and like wanting to be like shielded, and the shield is all this that's going on out here in the performance, in front of them, like away from them. So I'm seeing fear, anxiety, performative action in order to shield oneself from whatever the thing is that you're scared of.
News in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news.
And it's this creating of an object in front of him, like it's kind of weird to describe it like this, but creating of this, and he did it when he was holding these things up in the air, like almost like putting them on a pinboard or putting them out in space in front of him. These are concepts, these are past indiscretions, they're not objects, but by in some way utilizing his body language to create these like physical objects, like mentally creating these boxes and objects, I think it helps him to gain control mentally of the situation and compartmentalize things in some way. I don't know, you know, Russell's done a lot of work on meditation and the self and stuff like that, so I don't know what he has like, there's a lot of different ways you can for example, you can create a mind palace if you want to remember things. Like, you can use physical cues to help you with mental memory. Now, I don't know what sort of things he is taking on here as like technique or learning, like, but it feels like he's making physical objects out of his problems through his mental thinking and holding them out in front of him, and especially as well out in front of him in this performance space, in this idea space. So I suppose all this stuff that's going on, and it is now, is going on in this world of the social media where everyone can see. It's like he's putting it in the arena, but he himself is away and separate from the arena of conversation, of social media, of stuff going on in the real world, the physicality. So I'm saying that the stuff that we're seeing in the real world now that's been said about him is not the complete picture. It's just bits and pieces of a puzzle, of a picture. Like almost like when he was doing this, it's almost like, you know, when they, in the detective series, you've got on the wall all the different pinboard and all the different things. I think maybe in his mind he's seeing a lot more pins and a lot more things, but we've only got one and this email and this thing, and we're yet to put the lines and the connections and stuff, and that makes him scared and worried to think in his mind there's this that's in the public and there's all this other stuff that's in his mind that he's carrying with him as like a burden.
I've received 2 extremely disturbing...
You're saying he may not have a script. I'm saying he's definitely got a script. Number of reasons. One, the level of the production value of this show, and I know he's got the production value even though he's just doing YouTube, but I've seen him on his YouTube journey a little bit. You know, it's basic to write yourself a script before you get filming, and on something as important as this, he would have wanted to organise his thoughts. He would also have a PR team around him that would be encouraging him to say certain things, and you can see a reflection in his eyes. It might be just the lighting. Okay, it might just be lighting, but there's like a direct reflection in his eyes. I'm saying he's staring down the barrel of a camera with an auto cue on it, and it's coming through with words. You can get them quite cheap on Amazon to go on your computer. The fact that he's holding this fixed gaze at the camera the whole time, and not like human, you know, every now and then looking off and thinking and talking. So I'm unable in a way to analyze things like NLP or certain gestures and thoughts based on the way he's using his eyes, because I see him staring down the barrel of the camera, but to him I think he's staring at the words, and the words are anchoring him on, you know, let's not go off piste and start doing your flibbity flobbities and wibbity wobbities here. Let's stay on the script. You think you might not have an auto cue. Again, I'm going to say I think he does. I think that's what he's staring at and keeping locked onto. That's what I believe, but I might be wrong. You know, if I'm wrong, then he's just staring down the barrel of the camera and keeping locked onto that. And similar principle, which is stay on track, stay on focus. You know, literally focus on what we're doing here, rather than allow anything to start encroaching from a bit of a ramble and a bit of should have said this. Maybe I should have said that. I didn't want to say that. Oops, I said this. Doesn't want to do that here. Wants to be bang on exactly what he's saying. We're only 12 seconds in.
Letters.
You're right, Dover and Dolly's mom. This is how it goes though with these sort of things. Some people get cross that I keep stopping it. Like, this is how I roll. Like, I can just let him speak a bit and then come back and break it down, or I can let him speak, break it down, and then go back over it and let him speak a bit more. But it is how it is. So yeah.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video.
Also, I will see things, like 4 or 5 different things, and I won't be able to say them all at once. And I will be able to go over this. Like, I could probably do one body language analysis 3 or 4 times on the one video. It doesn't matter who it is, and put out different things. So, but it is what we get.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email. I've received 2 extremely disturbing...
So one thing's
because
actual...
in this story,
look,
I am the news. I've received 2...
There's this thing... There's this thing that he actually looks at. See how he looks away at that one? That one gets looked at and is held up higher up, and he's saying extremely, so he's talking, but at the same time you see he's like baring his teeth and gritting his teeth. This one thing is really fucking him off. The other thing not so much. Extremely important, and they're both of equal importance, but one is being held slightly higher. It was the one that was fucking him off more. And it gets like dropped down and raised up again. Look, like there's this weird look. He's very quick with these hand movements. This is like, that's the subconscious hand movement. He wants that one. So we've got 2 extremely important things. The one that he looked at, physically looks at, and then it pushes them out. Equal importance, but this one is staying in the public focus. This one you get. It's almost like a magician's trick. Keep an eye on this one. Minky, can you look? It does my head in. You're doing it all the time now. I nearly fell over then. Come on. Let's have you out. Come on. Come on. Out from under there now. Don't mess about. Come on. Come on. No, not in the curtains. You know that's the worst. There's so many things. You just want to mess about. Stop messing. Go and mess with the doggies. Oosh. Oh. Fucking hell. I just lifted up the chair and then sat down on it. And as I did, I lifted up the whole mechanism of the chair and put it down on my foot. And then once I'd sat down on it, it was all on my foot, on my fucking toe, and I couldn't move it off because I was on it. And I had to think, hang on, how do I... Because if I push down on the chair to lift myself off it, I'm putting more and more pressure on my foot. Oh my days, that was hurty. Hurty on my foot. Ooh. Oh, you pick up Snoot. Jasper, you little fucker. She knows that sofa's bad. She knows it. You all know it now. You've heard it over and over. Naughty Minky. She can go and chase the dog. Oh, my fucking toes. Jeez. So, back to Russell Brand and whether he's a sex offender. I don't know yet, but what I do know, or read from this, is that this one thing is causing him much more... Look, you see the way he's talking, but his teeth stay kind of clenched together there for that. Even though he's actually talking, he keeps them clenched as he continues to talk. This one thing, really cross about that one thing. The other one stays more in the public attention, more in your face than the other one. They each get pushed... They're being pushed into the public... Like, someone's pushing these things forward now. They're being pushed out there, so to speak. But the one thing that he really doesn't angry about, yeah, that really angry one, that gets dropped down, focus on this one, don't look at this. This is alright for us to talk about better than this, yeah? This fucking one, this fucker, yeah, and then we get, wait, I'll press the button, hang on. And then we get it raised up again and sort of restated. So I'm going forwards again. Now it gets raised up again and restated. It is more important. I don't want it to be. I don't want people to see it, but it is more important. This is the main thing. And this is what we're now, you know, this, see how it's like these two things occupy this like physical space in manifest now in the world through his actions. Like this one's now, but then there's this one and he's waving his hand and he's putting it over there, like pushing it away. Got this thing again being pushed in your face. These things are being pushed in your face. And it very much resembles like a glove puppet show or something. It's Russell Brand, there's a lot of show, there's a lot of front here, but whatever's up in your face, yeah? The one thing is going to be up in your face, you're going to see more stuff of it. The other one he doesn't want you to know about, he's more hidden, more worrisome, more to him. Again, this is not the entire story though, this is just what's being waved in your face. Yeah, his body language is telling me these stories that he's talking about are making him scared and they're being waved in everyone's face. And he thinks behind the scenes, you know, in the reality world, that there's probably other stuff, like not as wavy or different or what, other stuff that he's both scared about coming out into the public, but also like all the waving it around and doing, you know, I think he thinks that the reality of these stories, whatever they are not as dramatic as they are when they're waved in your face, if that makes sense. Yeah, like a glove puppet show. This is like a naked glove puppet show. He's got no puppets on his hands, but the puppets are all quite dramatic and everything, but really it's just some hands. Yeah, so I think he feels like it's all dramatic, pushed in your face. Let's see what he's saying and which hand represents what, and if we can get anything more from that. I mean, we're only a minute in. It's only 2 minutes long, isn't it? So we're only 10 seconds in, sorry, and it's 2 minutes long.
There you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine.
Also, I just noticed we are making this video. It's not the normal sort of video we make on this channel. So you have to bear in mind that Russell Brand, okay, he owns his own image. He's got his own YouTube channel. It's Russell Brand, isn't it? He just, gets up in the morning and just talks on the internet like most of us do. No, clearly not. Clearly there's a team of people, and Russell Brand Inc., the Russell Brand channel, the Russell Brand media product, although it says Russell Brand on the front and it's just him talking, we are making this video. So we have not written the script on our own, have we? And we, as the front man of this brand, representing everybody and keeping everyone in a fucking job if they, we have to now make this video. So I don't know exactly how much of the difficulty with all of these sort of things, these media apologies, is that how much of this is Russell and his words and how much of it is contrived media performance in order to downplay a situation. I suppose that's what I'm here for, is a body language analysis, but it's very interesting that we are doing this video. I didn't pick up on that first.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received two extremely
interesting as well, not body language analysis, but, actual factual analysis of what he's saying. He's basically inbuilt a defense into his opening statement. The reason that he's going to be attacked is because he attacks the news. This isn't the sort of normal story we make on this channel where we attack the news. This time, the news is attacking us. So strap in, because you already know the premise, which is I'm good and innocent and the news is attacking me. And you know why they're attacking me? Because I attack them. So it's almost like that's so clever. That's so media clever, like media savvy clever, psychological clever even, like inbuilt the defense into the question, like setting up the premise that we're innocent in the question and premise of the video. And like if you let that slide under the radar, like you just listen to the words and then they go by and then you're listening to what he said, like it's almost like a kind of gaslighting where he's built in the fact that on this channel we critique the media and I don't want to be doing this video because they're attacking me, so let's talk about them attacking me. Wait, hang on. Wait, you've framed it already. We were going to frame it ourselves. No. We framed it already. I'm glad that you've done that for me.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news.
Even that.
Usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique,
and look, there's like a half blink. Half, and then it goes down, and then it comes open again. Like, he's in performance, yeah? And he's almost keeping his teeth bared, like, he's in performance here, and that half blink, it's not a full blink, is it? It's not a full blink. I think this is mental stress. Like, it's almost like you get a slight mental break. He's starting into the performance, though, bear in mind. And it's almost like a mental rest. So I think, again, this points me towards reading off a teleprompter, because he's got those words in his mind. So mentally, like, his performance starts, like, this is really fast happening. His performance starts, his mind has said, I've got those words, I can take you to the end of the sentence here. So I get to check out for just a second, and then I'm back on, eyes wide awake, because this is going to be a tough one. Needs as many sort of mental breaks as he, even at the start of it, he's looking for a mental break. There's another sort of big blink there as well. And like, if you were talking about deception, yeah, these sort of half blinks and like subtle micro expression changes, and again, performance, like, that's not a real smile. It's the way he's talking, of course, but it looks fucking manic. You get this when you have a disconnect from the eyes above the, like, imagine a line across your head here, yeah, like a watermark line. Like, you can often tell people are smiling because their eyes are smiling, like, and they're smiling. But if there's a disconnect, like if I'm smiling but my eyes aren't smiling, and like there's a disconnect, it looks creepy as fuck. And so here I think you get that sort of like, there's a lot to take out of this in even just a few seconds. I get this sort of dead, angry, oppositional, fearful from the eyes, but the performer, the seasoned performer here, carries this along and goes into almost a sort of autopilot of performance and character, and I'm delivering the lines, and there are the lines in front of me, and I'm doing the thing, and like, at the end, cut, did we get through that? Did I do all right? How did it come out? Did I look good? I feel like there might be a bit of that in it. Like, he might not be as Because he does everything very fast, Russell does as well. Like, I feel this would have been one way he would have been better off to slow the fuck down. But already he's packed so much in the first few seconds, and he's like this. So I feel that he himself, like, nervous energy has powered. Like, it's only a 2-minute video, bear in mind, and we keep saying it, we're only at 10 seconds. But I feel like he himself has almost allowed himself to say, right, I've got my team, we've been through it, we've got the script, this is performance mode, so I'm not going to be mentally thinking about the ins and outs of this now and trying to reason it out. We've done all that, now it's time to deliver. You know, it's time to pick up the microphone and do the performance, and then at the end, how did I do? Did it look good? Do we need to retake it? But in the flow of the moment, he's going to sort of abandon, or attempt to abandon, his mental processes and give in to the auto cue, the lights, the performance. So it might be interesting to see if we get valid body language stuff, or if everything I say needs to go in the bin because he's being a performer. It's up to you, that's totally up to you. And if you disagree with anything I'm saying, put it in chat, you fuckers. This will end up on YouTube.
Critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an
Letters, well, or a letter. Letter, bad.
email, one from a mainstream media TV company,
Not so worried about that.
one from a newspaper,
Bit more worried about that, and it got an edit.
one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper,
And it got an edit, yeah? So hard to judge body language here. And interesting that within 20 seconds of this, they've decided to edit something. Like, if you're doing a proper apology, or in this case a denial, you probably want as little editing as possible, because it just means, as an analyst like me, I'm going to be asking, what the fuck did you have to edit out there about the newspaper? Like, you've got a T pose and Y pose. I believe Russell is, again, trained, like, to do, not trained like, you know, like a dog, but like, I believe he's learned and he's decided, like, as a performer, in order to, like, create certain body language. Like, this is a strange body language, it certainly is as well, having your arms up in the air, like, I'm innocent. I'm innocent, honestly. I've been caught red-handed almost, but I think with Russell as well, there is just a lot of this, like, theatre performance in his body language. And because I now can't see what happened before this, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to analyse it very much. But the one thing I can analyse is whatever the fuck got cut out between this scared expression while he's about to name the newspaper. Like, what he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to provoke the mainstream media outlet, whoever it is, BBC or whatever. I think because he's already had run-ins with the BBC in the past and stuff, whatever they've got, whatever they're saying, I don't think he's so worried about it. But whatever this newspaper's got, I think there's genuine fear, and I don't think he wants to provoke it any further, to the point where he wouldn't even name the particular newspaper, would he?
one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper,
And it's interesting as well that we are now saying that there are these 2 problems, but in the real world, with this whole sort of thing, I think there are actually more problems than just 2. It's not that one mainstream media outlet and one newspaper are saying, it's that multiple people are accusing you of things, and these 2 outlets are reporting them in the main. Now, by today, you know, 2 days after this, it will be many, many more. So it's interesting that he's trying to the audience, say, look, this problem, get them gone away, no problems. But actually, it's much, much more bigger and complex than that, I think.
a litany of the news in all its corruption, because in this story I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email.
He even shook his head on letters.
News. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters.
Letters got like a half shake of the head. Again, it's like a discounting. Like, you saw his jaw just go over to there, and then it comes back, and he's like sort of shaking his head. It's a discounting. Letters, this mainstream media, like, fuck them, I'm not even that bothered. But the newspaper, we are worried about.
Or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some.
Very interesting. Listing a litany. This is all performative, like, it's Russell's classic performative language, written for him by a litany of egregious, and like, it's that Englishness, that, like, that's Russell's brand, yeah. And the way he performed this body language of total symmetry when he did it, like, And then we move again into this space where this one adversary is far more problematic. He's even putting a face of concern here. So this litany of like this literal parallel list. Like, it's really weird to see such synchronized, mirrored, like self-mirrored, synchronized. It's almost like a dividing of the mind, dividing of self. Like, I mean, Russell maybe as a performer and Russell as a person.
News. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email. One from a mainstream media TV company.
Big ups, Red Fan. Thank you for the gifted tier sub. Oita has picked that up. Thank you.
One from a newspaper listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as
attacks. They're not. Oh my days. So I'm finding the symmetry of this to be very, very strange. I'll be honest. It's not quite symmetrical. It's not perfectly in time symmetrical, is it? But there's such a symmetry to this. And the way it came from up here to down here to up here, and then attacks as well. They're not. I thought he was going to say listing a series of egregious things that I've done or that I'm accused of, but actually they're attacks on his personality. They're not things he's accused of. They're not things that he's done. They're attacks. Again, clever language, making me think this is a scripted thing, because most people wouldn't be clever enough in their language to think that way, unless you are so innocent that you see them as attacks. Even then, you would say that they were, like, even if you're innocent of them, they would still be allegations rather than attacks. So very clever use of language there. And this, I don't. How am I going to call this? I want to. I bet if I ask for body language symmetry, it's going to look. It's going to show me mirroring, but body language symmetry. I'm going to say strength and confidence. Asymmetrical looks you look confused. Yeah. Symmetry, weight on both feet. It's confidence, isn't it? Yeah. So I think this is a performed action rather than a natural action, because it seems so unnatural, and it's to give an impression of confidence. It's someone who understands, like Russell understands performance of body language, not just to be on stage, but to appear, confident, to live in the same way as he performs. Like, he's part of, like, we all need to do it sometimes. You all need to stand up straighter at the bar and, get your attention and stuff like that. Russell knows that this symmetry is part of his confidence body language package, and so he performs the action, in my mind, in that case. And again, you've got that clever use of language that gets him out of being accused and into being attacked. So he is now the victim. I'm going to keep going back to the start because it's 6 seconds. This time I'm actually going to let it play for about a minute and a bit, or some amount of time, and then I'm going to dig in again for everyone that's screaming, God, just let it play.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email. One from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the
Okay, we'll get to that. Let me get to this.
Of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid
stuff over here in the space where the mainstream media paper, again, there's almost like a confusion in his face here, almost as well, like a hurt. I guess he feels that you can attack me on the factual levels of the things I've done, because I have had a load of sex and I've done XYZ and I'm not really ashamed of some of it. But on this other stuff where you're just fucking spinning nonsense and lies, what do you expect me to do with this? Like, how am I supposed to deal with this? Like, it's unfair in a way, he's thinking. Like, is Russell a narcissist? I don't think Russell classes as a narcissist, does he? I've seen him do quite a lot of nice things in his time, but it almost feels a little bit narcissistic here to be like, you know, it's unfair. It's not fair. They've made up some silly things.
Stuff like my community
And we're going to get onto these silly things and put them front and centre. My community festival.
festival should be stopped. That I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media now.
And like it's this. Oh right, yeah. Well, I know you are, but what am I? It's like this going on back at like, and he's again gnashing his teeth on this one, giving a slightly manic stare.
Narratives on
Like it's almost like he knows he's got to drive this point home.
this channel, but amidst this,
But like so it's like like he wants to make sure that is, it's almost like I'm not trying to say he's like doing a Darren Brown on us or anything, but he said, oh, there's some silly things like this and then this thing that like he drumming that in, like making sure that point's known. Again, we've had it twice now in 30 seconds of this video that Russell attacks the mainstream media. And he shouldn't. Oh, you know, it's because we've been watching a lot of Alan, Armchair Detective, on my B-side show, and this is like the apology of a narcissist in a way, or the defense of a narcissist. I didn't do it, and if I did, it wasn't that bad. And if you know, and the silly things they're attacking me for are silly. So you know, also they're attacking me for something quite serious. But mainly, it's almost like attacking back in this way, and the premise of the defense is inbuilt into the way he's describing the attacks.
attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst...
And there was a strange change in his body language, which wasn't a smile, but it looked more like a bit of a smiling in the eyes when he said this. Oh, he looks so manic.
Attack mainstream media
mainstream media narratives, yeah, got you there. Like, there's almost like a semi-smile, but it looks sort of manic, doesn't it? Attack the mainstream media narratives. Like, I think in some way he actually believes that the reason he's being attacked... I don't know the truth of what he's done, and I don't know the truth of why he's being... You know, I haven't watched anything and much of what's being said about him up to this point, because I like to come into these fairly cold, you know. But what I think is interesting is that he, in himself, I think 50% of what I'm reading is it looks like he's clinging on to that. Like clinging onto it, like a dog with a bone, like life raft or something in this situation, I suppose is a good analogy. Like he's, I got this, make sure I've got this, like hold on to this, don't want to let go of this. Like it's like a shaky ladder that he's aloft, you know, he's holding on to this ladder and he's just fucking gonna hold on to this because this is my stability in this storm. But also I think there is some element of that half smile, or like it's not a smile because it's not nice to be attacked. It's not a smile because it's not nice to be vilified, but it's almost like a sort of when someone's really into the argument and they're really into the row and like they're feeding off it in some way, there's almost some kind of like manic pleasure, slight manic I mean, Russell is a former drug addict, a former sexaholic, self-admitted. I should watch the Channel 4, yeah, I absolutely will do after I've done this, and I hope I don't look like a bad person after I've done this, because this is supposed to be a cold read on just Russell Brandon responding to the allegations. So, like, I don't know what exactly the allegations are. Maybe I should have looked into them first, but I think it kind of works better if I don't, but maybe... people can tell me in comments, should I look into everything first, or should I go into it cold like I'm doing now? You can tell me in comments. But I will definitely watch that Channel 4 one, yeah. The thing is, I feel like so 50% of me says this is, or 50% of what I'm reading here looks like clinging on to this like a dog with a bone, clinging on to this point like it's his safe thing that he can hold on to, and everything else around him is a bit like, you know, running, swaying around and unstable. But the other thing is that I feel like there's some feeding off the emotion of it and some sort of vendetta, like feeling that, oh, I got you on this one, you fuckers. Like, yeah, have that, you fuckers. Like, that he is weaponizing this against the people he hates the most. So he gets some pleasure out of doing that, even though it's hurting him, if that makes sense. Like, so that makes me feel like in some way he believes that he's being victimized. He believes that this is because he has a pop at the press, that this is happening. and whether that's the truth, whether the truth is he's done bad things or not, I'm not saying I'm questioning here. I'm saying that he could have done bad things, but still believe that they're coming out because of the press and the hatred for him. So it might not be that he doesn't think he's done bad things. That's not what I'm saying. But he does think he's being attacked. And he thinks that the fact he's being attacked, he almost some I don't want to say positive because it's a very negative energy that I'm reading, feeding the positivity. But it's like feeding the demon. Like, right, I'm getting something out of this. This is going to be 1 million views. This is me on the front cover again. This is like, oh, I am the news now. And there's a sense of like ego in this. As much as Russell, I hope, I would love it if Russell watched this and we could have a chat sometime about something ever. Because like over the years, I've quite respected him as a broadcaster in the main. Like I've seen him go through his career and thought, well, well done you. Obviously now if he's a sex monster, there's a different overtone to it. But me as a broadcaster, if Russell Brand came on my show, I'd be like, wow, this is amazing, wouldn't I? And before I knew about all these sex monster things, I'm saying Russell Brand, the media construct, the millions of views, that doing really well, 6 million on YouTube, doing better than me on YouTube, doing really well and all that business, like big celebrity Russell. So, like in a way, I think I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is some where he says he's being attacked. There is some sense of sort of slightly feeding off that. And slightly getting some sense of pleasure, but it's not a pleasurable thing, so it's some sick pleasure. But then maybe there's this drug addict part, this dopamine part, or something, or the thrill of the fight, or I've got you now, I know what you're doing, even though, and I'm calling you out in public on it, even though it's bad for me and it's happening, I'm exposing you still, so have a bit of that. There's like a sense of fight back in that expression to me, like anger, and like Russell is a comedian. Yeah, like he disarms with comedy, but in this setup, in his own home studio, so to speak, in his safe space, he's being very aggressive toward the people that are attacking him. Like feeling kind of confident there, I suppose. Interesting. Let's take it back to the start.
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks,
and again we get the repeat of litany, so I think he is reading on auto cue, but he went off piste a little, just added in like baroque attacks. I don't even understand what a baroque attack is, so I can't critique that, but it's this concept that we've got. He's about to say, isn't he, that well, I'm going to find out what he's about to say in a second, but he's creating a muddy water. He's creating maybe there were a big list of things that were listed, but we all know that the ones that people really care about are the most serious ones. So by describing it as this muddy pond full of different things that some of them are quite silly, it in some way dilutes the validity of the important ones in some way, I believe. So he's careful to make sure that's brought to the fore as well.
Egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations.
It's interesting he says rather baroque attacks, because I think that baroque, hang on. Baroque to me, if I were to just describe to you what baroque is, I don't know, but I would say lots of fancy stuff, lots of like fancy architecture, all swirls and curls, and probably like in some way the past, and rich people in the past, like the past though, like 1700s or something, the past and rich. And I would also say that typing on a harpsichord, like making music on a harpsichord, The Baroque is a highly ornate and elaborate style of architecture, art and design that flourished in Europe in the 17th and first half of the 18th century. Originating in Italy, its influence quickly spread across Europe. It became the first visual style to have a significant worldwide impact. So why are we describing the arguments or the things said about him as Baroque? I believe this is because it conjures amongst the masses imagery of this sense of imagery, and that the general public, 90% of people, wouldn't know about exactly which century. I mean, I think maybe I'm discrediting that actually. Maybe like 40% would know and like 60% wouldn't pin and understand exactly what the Baroque time, or maybe they would. Anyway, I think what it does is it's evocative language that rather than actually describing what he's describing in a clever way, a Baroque argument. He said Baroque arguments, didn't he? Baroque arguments. So that they're like, what are these arguments? They're all dressed up and like jazzed up in a sort of really old fashioned but overly glamorized sort of way. It's a funny way to describe an argument, but what it does is it conjures up a sense of an image, and that's of opulent luxury, of ruling classes and serfs, and olden times where people were a bit less, a bit more off with his head and a bit more, a bit less, modern and fair and equal, like less equality, more inequality, more rulers and scumbags, and the Baroque and and you don't really understand the Baroque, do you? Because you're a normal person. So to you, to me, to you, to us, we go to the football and we're normal fellas and ladies, of course. But we're normal people, and they're the Baroque. The Baroque arguments against me, the elitists, the posh twats. They're against me. And so the use of the word is very clever because it conjures up something. There's something about the word Baroque as well, like the rock part of it, Baroque. Like, you've heard it said, and it's hoity-toity, and I'm guessing that the average person on the street, rather than understanding exactly what he means by Baroque, just gets a sort of feeling from it, and it's like, fuck you, you Baroque bastards. Us on the football terraces hate you Baroque bastards, and they're all after me, those Baroque arguments. It's a really interesting way to, and again, I think this is because it's well written. I'd love to know. I would love to know, and if Russell would tell me, I will remain. I will believe. I'll give him the credit and the benefit of the doubt of being honest about whether he's written this or had a team of people to write it with him, or whether someone gave it a look over, or whether he just did it off the cuff. I would like to know, because I think whoever wrote that is either extraordinarily clever. I mean, Russell might have done that off the cuff, and he might want to take the credit for it. But whoever wrote that is extraordinarily clever, because as a use of persuasive language, rather than attacking the argument itself, they're Baroque arguments. So we don't have to attack the things that they've said and break down. It's the people who are saying them and the style of the arguments that we're attacking. So it's the way a narcissist would say, instead of a narcissist would deny something. I'm not saying Russell's a narcissist. I'm saying a narcissist would deny something and then attack the person who's saying it and discredit the people who are saying it, so that it doesn't matter what they're saying, because we've discredited them as people. So now when they say things, it's, those bad people said it. And in this way, it's the same thing, but subtly and in a sort of one throwaway word that gets part of it. And it feels like Russell's very illustrative language that he uses. It feels like Russell's intellectualism is coming through, but really it's a very subtle character creation of his enemy, a character assassination of his enemy in a way. They're Baroque. Fuck them. I love it. I thought that was really, really good, Russell.
Attack mainstream media narratives on this channel, but amidst this litany of astonishing, rather Baroque attacks.
Astonishing. As well, astonishing. I shouldn't go too deep on every word, but astonishing as well. Not shocking, because shocking is the word, the exact language of the tabloid media. Shocking new love pics, shocking new snaps. But astonishing, in astonishment. Harry Potter opened his eyes in astonishment. Astonishment. And of course, surprise and astonishment, because he would never have thought anyone would say these things about him because they're not true. But I'm led to fill in those ends of the sentence because like astonishment is his feeling, is his emotional output on that. And again, with the dead eyes, with the reading on the auto cue, almost with the sadness in the eyes, astonishing. Is he astonished? He didn't seem astonished. But again, I think this is dressed up language to try and put a point across to us, to make us feel like these things are astonishing rather than shocking or disgusting or, you know, any other, like, you know, just astonishing. I'm astonished that these bad people are doing this bad attack on me.
Litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute.
Absolutely refute. And I get this body language again, that pushing it down, this controlling body language. We've seen it actually in some quite disturbing situations where murders have been involved and shit like that. Honestly, like pushing it down, controlling it. It's nearly a expression of innocence. Hands up, innocence. I've got nothing more to say on the matter. Like almost like a backing off. Like that would look like quite innocence. Like, I don't know, I want to touch it. I don't know. I haven't got anything to offer here. I've got nothing to offer here because I'm innocent and there's nothing to, like, you know, you're asking me about the murder. I don't know anything about the murder. I've got nothing to, like that sort of thing. But it's not that. It's that pushing it down, like that control and pushing it down. Absolutely refute. The refutation in itself is being seen in his subconscious as a chess move. Like, this is the problem that's growing, and my refutation pushes it down. It doesn't end it and finish it. It takes this growing problem and it like forces it back into the box in a way, you know. Beth says baroque can also mean eccentric or perverse in terms of arguments. Interesting. Baroque. It's not just a like more, it would be on the extended version of the definitions. Like it'd be like a thesaurus sense of a definition, wouldn't it? Because like to the main, like I understand if that's like if I'm being not as literate as Russell, but I think he's talking to the common people when he makes his videos. So I would think he would understand that we would all take the more illustrative, literal meaning, not literal, but like more normal meaning about the architecture and stuff. But interesting, it means that specific thing in terms of arguments, eccentric or perverse. So again, it fulfills the same purpose to discredit the argument rather than to take on the things that are being said in the argument, but to say that the argument itself is perverse and bad.
These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now,
I do give him this as a credit, right? We get all this performative body language, so I'm not hinging too much on that. But I don't know if you can hear the super bikes going on. We're having that now. In the evenings, the super bikes. I do give him this. I do credit him with this, right? He has written about that extensively in his books. He has taken account and ownership of his past behaviour, but it's almost a feature of his persona, the brand, Russell Brand, a Lothario. A lot of sex was had, a lot of drugs was had. You know, this whole, like, he's got this picture behind him down in the bottom right of a, I think is it a Hindu god, or is it Shiva or some, you know, in that book. I'm sorry for my ignorance. Like, he's got somebody up here as well. You know, he's got that Eastern mysticism guru, long hair hippie, you know, some sex bits, you know, it's all like the 70s. We were talking about it earlier when we were talking about Charles Manson. You know, it's got all that inbuilt, hasn't it? The sex, you know, the hippies, the campfires, the lose yourself, the dancing round, the oh, I slipped it in. You know, it's got a bit of sex going about it, hasn't it? So he has covered that, he has talked about it, but I would also argue that it was a feature of his redemption arc that Russell was adopted on television as a redeemed or redeemable, lovable rogue, that he had been through some bad times in his life, but through his love of comedy, his jovial nature, his ability to bring people together. Because when he first started on Big Brother's Little Brother, it was like an open forum show with lots of people there, and he was running around with the microphone and talking to people, and his ability to be an everyman and to be personable and interact with lots of different people and keep the vibe flowing, that gave him the ability to be forgiven. Like, people liked him as a person. So then when he came out about some of the more depraved things that he's done, I suppose, without going into great details, I've not heard great details from him, but drug addiction and promiscuity, whilst it might sound a bit rock and roll, can also be a bit dirty and a bit seedy. And he's managed to paint all of that dirty, seedy aspect with the brush of eloquent speech, charisma, with the brush of charisma. So it sanitizes some of those things when people hear them, and they kind of give him a bit of a free pass, don't they, and a forgiveness, and like, this is who he is. He's a bit fruity, he's a bit like this, so no wonder he's done some edgy and dodgy things. But, you know, again, coming onto these allegations, that whatever these specific ones are, and I do have to watch the full documentary, there is still a line, like there is still a clear and obvious line in certain, like a criminal line, that we are forgiving him for being a Lothario who has slept around, rather than forgiving him for being a sex criminal. So sex criminal is clearly the line, and whilst people have taken him into their hearts, so to speak, generally, as accepted his character, so to speak, that character cannot it cannot sanitize actual crimes. I'd say that, yeah. So I've just been rambling. Let's let him talk a bit more again, and then I'll butt in.
And aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
Okay, absolutely always. So when we're saying refute, it's interesting that instead of listing the allegations, and so, like, because this is like, you know, on the B-side, when we talk about Angry Alan, it is a study in narcissism, and it is a study in human behaviour in lots of ways. And we often are wondering if lies will be refuted, and, you know, if allegations will be refuted. And I'm always sort of saying, like, you should... Like, I'm not the expert in how to handle a public allegation. Like, I don't know, like, do I? But I'm always saying you should take it on direct. You should say, they're saying this. Obviously, I think personally, obviously, feels like the natural thing I would say, but maybe it's an extra word we don't need. But like, they're saying this, like, I like the way he did this, I totally refute it, let's move on. I don't think it requires like I think the more you end up talking and blathering and blabbering, the more it makes you look guilty, doesn't it? So and for some things, I would think that if you are innocent, then do you even need to make public statements about your innocence? Because, like, you know, I don't generally go around making public statements like, I didn't rob anything from the shop, I didn't crash my car, I didn't do this, I didn't do any of this stuff, so I don't have to make any statements about it. I'm just a normal person. I get it, there's allegations, I get it, but yeah, we've got this listing of the reasons. Like, it was just, I think, again, very clever writing, very clever thought process behind this. Instead of listing the allegation and refuting them, saying something that's more positive. So instead of saying I didn't do a R word, I always made sure it was consensual, or it was always consensual, covers it, but without having to say the R word, doesn't it? So it's a very clever way of coming about this and saying of making the refutations, but like again, it's like Russell. I don't know if it's just him and his writing or his team, but it's so clever because it's inbuilt. It's like you've not had to say I didn't do this thing because X, Y, Z. You've just said I did this thing, and the other things are all inbuilt. So I think it's a really clever way of doing it. I admire the language, even if I don't know the truth and everything behind it, because as body language, I'm seeing again this disconnect, this stare, this sort of dead eyes, and this performative beating of the drum, this performative action. I'm seeing again still a lot of fear. I think I'm not saying because of the way his ears are or because of the way his face is. I'm just saying I can see it in his eyes. It just looks that way. Just like instinct on that one. Just seeing fear. Not anxiety fear, but fear. Like taking it really seriously. There's almost like a gloss on his eyes, a sort of glaze on his eyes, a little bit of water, like taking it like, you know, so seriously that like he's alert, he's in the moment. There's a lot of mental process that goes on. Not like processing and like thinking and blinking, but like there's a lot of focus like on your game. It's almost like being a sports performer or something. Like you're in. It's game time. Like it's game time. I feel almost like he's a chess player as well. Like that he's staring at the board, and you know, the board is all. The camera is all. Like Russell's a very, very good performer, regardless of whether he's done these crimes or not. And I'm not defending him, of course. I'm just saying that he's a very good performer. And I see, like, if I was a director and someone was giving me this sense of focus and attention, like this is to him what we're doing now on this video is everything in the world. And read that how you want, whether that makes him seem innocent or guilty. Read that how you want. But to me, it seems that not being distracted by anything else and being fully involved in the performance is a reason why you would say someone is a good performer, rather than a reason why I would attribute guilt or blame. But yeah.
Should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always...
There was an edit, wasn't there?
Of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. During that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
There was an edit.
Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
That's one frame between the two. There's an edit. Fucking, I tell you what, I fucking don't like that. That's the most important bit, isn't it? My instinctive read on it was that it was very performance, but I was saying push down, control, shut down. My problem with it now, with the edit, right, I've got a huge problem with it, with there being an edit, is this proves that Russell has sat there and done 2 takes at least. Let's say he's done, at minimum, 2 takes, right? And then you've gone in the editing room and you've got the 2 takes, and if you've got a little problem, you've got the 2, you know, they line up, they both say exactly the same thing because they're to the same script, they're both about the same length. You know, we've jumped from one to the other there. Or whether that something's happened and they've said, cut, take it from there, and then he's taken it from there. But the fact that the body language marries up so closely either means that he's very consistent in his body language talking about this subject, or it means that they're choosing specifically what kind of body language he should exhibit, and he's performing it because he's done it again, and then he's done it again, and then he's done it again. And it could be that this could be take 8 or take 10. I don't know how many things have been edited through to create this. Well, we've seen 2 cuts, so there's at least 2 performances because one thing could be cut twice. But it could be that this thing was cut 3 times. It could be they're saying cut and then do it again. Or it could be because it's so short, he's doing it in multiple. Like, let's do it again. Okay, let's watch it. Okay, I don't like that way you've done your hands in this one. And when you said that bit there, we're going to change that. We're going to start putting your hands down here now because it looks too weird or whatever, you know. Like, they could literally have been going through it on that level. So, and that is implied by the fact that the edit cut, his hands are in basically the same position, slightly different. So we don't know why and what got edited because he's only saying a very simple statement. And like, it's one word at the end of the statement that got edited in the middle. So usually in an edit,
now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
You see, it goes absolutely always consensual. So we've edited from the word always to consensual, right? But if you were going to say, I don't like the way you said it on that one, I'll take the other one, then what you would do is you would have the whole phrase.
During that time of promiscuity, the relationships I
probably from the relationships. So if I didn't like if he said, or something's gone wrong at the end of this particular take,
the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
Cut there, sorry, something went wrong there, right? Okay, I would take that bit in the edit and I would bin it off and I would take the next one where he said.
Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were.
The relationships I had, like, I'd take the whole phrase because it looks better in the edit to edit in between phrases rather than in the middle of a phrase. Yeah? So it seems really fucking weird that you've edited at that exact moment. Look at the movement in the trees in the background. The trees are video screens. They're not actual windows. That's like, I've put up a television screen behind me and I've got pictures on it.
Absolutely always consensual.
I don't know what's happening with the movement of them, but yeah, there is definitely a change in the trees, isn't there? The colour and the look of everything, yeah. And again, like, there's just a slight change in the lighting as well. I don't know if it's natural light that they're shooting. I would imagine not natural light, but there is a slight shade change in the trees behind him. And I do wonder, like, how many times they did this take and how much of a time jump there is between those 2 moments. Whether this is take 1 married with take 50 or whatever. And because it's such a short video and you've got a team around you, you can literally watch it and literally do another take and literally do another take. And why would it be in that moment that you've got the problem that you need to edit? Like, of all moments, you want that moment to be just a straightforward, not edited. It's so fucking uncomfortable for me as a, like, from the editing space, from the media production space, like, knowing, like, if I was editing this, I'd say we can't edit in the middle of the statement. Like, I'll take it from the front of the phrase. And like, even if the producer said to me, well, but look, I want this part of that phrase and this part of the other. I like the way he starts and I like the way he finishes. I don't like the start of that one and the finish of that one. Let's put them together. I'd say, but it's going to look fun. It's in the middle of the phrase. Like, especially on something as important as this, shouldn't we give that phrase the space of it being a one take thing? And he says it all, because won't it look a bit weird that we edited it? So I don't like that at all. And again, because it's edited, I don't know what to take out of it because I can't see the body language follow on from what he was just saying or just before what he said then that needed to be edited. So obviously something, but it seemed like his hands were very consistent in the way they were performing. So for me, it stamps the element of performance onto this, and coupled with the sort of deadness in the eyes, the disconnect between the performance and the feelings underneath it, which I'm going to say are underpinned by fear, is a bit of a worry. Yeah.
In my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
And the problem with that as a denial as well, even though it was very clever to bring it around to consensual rather than using the the R word, is they were absolutely always consensual is qualifying language. Like, people who are telling the truth generally would say the relationships I had were consent. Well, they'd say I didn't do R's. I didn't do any grapes. They would say I didn't do that. No, like, it's like a simple denial. Whereas people who are lying often say there's no way I could possibly have ever have done that. Like they add in these qualifying words, like these extra words to make it seem more certain that they couldn't, like make it more sure that they couldn't, because they're more worried that they might get found out for having done. So for him to say absolutely, like, what do you mean absolutely, definitely, you mean every time you went through a checklist and you like sort of gave him a little slap and said, listen love, I'm about to put it in, have you signed the form? Have we got a definite yes and no on this? Because I want an absolute. Like, you know, there were never any times where you were drunk and fooling around and things just happened and then you woke up the next morning and said, did I, you know, that was okay, wasn't it? Oh, thank fuck for that. You know, like, you know, there was never anything like that then. Never any, no, it was absolutely always definitely, like, that qualifying language surrounding that statement, actually, for me, in terms of textual analysis, body language read or whatever, for me it dilutes it rather than strengthens it.
Movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then.
I was always transparent about that then, pointing with his thumbs behind him. Like, get thee behind me, Satan. Like, oh, like, that's in the past, that's behind me. So again, it's a strange body language. It's symmetrical. I know what he's trying to say. It's a gesticulation of a theatre performer, isn't it? Again, of a, like, you know, shoving, like, for me, less illustrative of emotion speaking through your body language and more illustrative of body language trying to convey a message and trying to put something across to the audience. So that's behind him, that's the past, yeah.
Relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now.
They do this, right? In lots of ways, I've liked Russell over the years. In other ways, I haven't quite gelled with some of the things he said or his behaviours. But overall, I think, in the main, I like Russell for being... And again, I'm talking about someone who might be a sex predator, so temper it with the fact I don't know anything about whether he definitely is or isn't a sex predator. Don't say, oh, you're defending the sex predator. But I'm saying, in the main, Russell has been charismatic. He's been anti-establishment. He's liked football. Like, there's lots of reasons why I think I would have had a great laugh. Like, you know, if Russell Brand happened to be on the same bus as me and I sat next to him, we'd have had a good chat. It'd have been a good laugh. You know, I think he seems like a nice enough person. But I don't like this... I see it in bad, like we saw it in Paul Ansel, for example. Right? This grasping and controlling reach, and I believe, like, the way he's staring into either the auto cue or the camera, like, the audience. Russell does not want to lose the audience. Like, if everyone stops watching his stuff and doesn't care about him anymore, he can, like, whether he can still be a successful author, whether he can still be a successful, like, let's say because of this, everyone doesn't watch Russell Brand anymore. He's like excommunicated, not on Tellis, but nobody wants to watch his YouTube and no one wants to go to his shows and they don't like him anymore. Yeah, it would hurt him more that you know, that is, he's trying to hold on to the audience here, like literally to you at home and to all these people. Like, that feeds him so much. He's so worried about losing that, more than he's worried about, like, the realities and repercussions of the sexual, like, you know, like you said, that's, but I've done that, I've been there and done that, but please, I can't lose this. Like, it's almost like he's more, like, for him and his mental struggle, he's got these problems, but the problems are, like, the bigger problem is I might lose the people looking at me and the adoration and that sort of thing. Like, he really, really wants to make sure he's got a hold of that and keeps that. That's kind of interesting, you know, because he talks a lot about, in the past I've heard him talk a lot about ego. I think I've read one of his, or listened to an audiobook of his, like, where, like, ego is comes to the fore a lot, and it feels like he's scared of losing that thing that feeds his ego. But really what he should be more worried about is the more serious allegations and the serious consequences of those. To him, I suppose the most serious consequence is people don't watch me anymore. And like I said, if he could then, let's say he's rich and he can go away and start a business selling fruit or something, and, like, you know, he doesn't have to ever Now he can still be successful in loads of other fields. And he doesn't have to ever worry about like prison or anything. Like that would still be terrible to him because he doesn't want to sell fruit. He wants people to watch him and listen to him and to be Russell and have this relationship with the audience. So it fuels him in some way, and that's strangely top of his agenda here, where I would think other things might be top of my mental agenda if I was being accused of really serious bad things. But he seems to have discounted them, put them behind him. Almost said as well, like, well, he literally said, these are things from the past from when I was in films. So that's then, like, statute of limitations or whatever, behind me. Like, it's like Russell, whether he is right or wrong in this, I'm not judging this, I'm just telling you what I believe his mental state is he's scared, and he's scared of losing the audience. You know, he's scared of losing that thing, rather than he's scared of going to prison, or he's scared of physical attack, or he's scared of losing the, and it's not losing the audience because it's financial, and it's not losing the audience, it's that magical thing about being on stage, about having people laugh at you, about having people look at you, and like, you know how people who are famous want the attention. It's the attention. It's not just the no wait. It's not just the attention, because he's not basking in this negative attention moment as much. Like he is, like this is a lot of eyes on him for this. He's anxious about delivering this one. This isn't like excited Russell. Great, everyone's looking at me. It doesn't matter what they're looking at me for. They're looking at me. They're all looking at me, and please don't go. Please don't leave me. I know this is bad, but like the worst thing that could happen is that you would go and leave. And I don't know if that's just something he wants to put across almost. Sometimes he looks like a Jesus figure, but here he looks like almost like a beggar in a way, you know, like a sorrowful figure. I don't know if that's just something like the fragile narcissist would project, a pity party element, or if it's actually a serious from the soul. Like, we've seen a disconnect with the eyes throughout the entirety of this, with lots of the things he says, but for this one there's no disconnect. This is true. Like, don't go, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't go. I think that's what's, I think deep down, I hope Russell watches this, you know, I hope he watches it and we can become friends, even if he's a sex predator, because he'll be the most famous person I'm friends with, and we can have a conversation. I'm only joking, of course. I don't want people to be like, oh, he wants to be friends with a sex predator, but because I don't know anything about it, and I just wonder if Russell will ever watch this. I don't want him to watch it and think, I hate you, Scott, you're a bad chuffer. And I'd like to think that we could like talk about things. I think it'd be interesting, because I think I see deep down all of it is a fear of loss, of a fear of abandonment. I think that's what I see most out of all of this here, is and it's weird because we're talking about the allegations upon him and whether he's innocent or not, but his body language read is fear of abandonment. So, you know, I can't tell you about innocence and guilt if he's not projecting that. I can tell you about what he's projecting, or what I hope he's projecting from his inner heart, that regardless of this performance I'm seeing.
In the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal now as well. And to see that
edited. And he said as well.
Almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well.
As well as not on the script.
About that then. Almost too transparent.
Maybe almost too transparent's not on the script as well. And he starts to look like, at first it looks like vulnerable upset, but also it comes now towards aggression.
And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see...
And it cuts there. He's about to get going. Maybe he delivered the next lines a little bit too aggressive, and we don't want those ones. We've cut those ones. I feel like he's about to start getting himself, like, as he starts on this, I was too transparent then, I'm too transparent now, I feel like we're about to escalate, and that's not the vibe that they want to perpetuate. So feel my vibe. Wait. I said escalate and perpetuate. Feel my, I'm going to get you reinstated like the president. I'm not going to get him necessarily. I was just doing some rhyming. Sorry, I was just enjoying rhyming words. Yeah, so Russell, I feel, is about to get animated and eggy, and they don't want that, so they've edited that. And again, too much editing, problematic, hugely problematic. If you have to edit it so much, you need to fucking calm down and say to him, look, we're doing this in one take. Here's the notes. Do it slowly. And if you don't do it slowly, I'm going to step on your fucking foot, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to do the whole thing with me stepping on your foot, and you're going to do it slowly. And if you don't like it, I'm going to step on your other foot and do it. That's directing, isn't it? That's what Stanley Kubrick used to do. Get stepping right on their foot. I'm only joking, of course. Don't step on anyone's feet. Just make sure he does it slowly for next time, can you? Who am I talking to? I don't have a director's assistant. I'm just me sat here. For a minute there, I was Stanley Kubrick stepping on people's feet and dictating things to my assistant, but sadly no. Sadly no. You never know. If this goes well, this body language, and Russell turns out not to be a sex offender, then we can all get together and me and Russell can make a film, and I can show my moves, show my director skills, my moves. I've got them. Trust me, Russell. You know, everything will be fine. But maybe it won't be, and maybe he'll be a sex offender, and then people will say, Scott tried to make a film with a sex offender, you know. Calm down, everyone. It's just it's not a commercial. It's Russell Brand and his career. It's very serious.
And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny.
Whoa. Okay. I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to let him talk, and then I'm going to bring it back and like do my thing. But whoa.
To the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of.
We're going to move on now, and he's going to start, therefore he's talking about certain things, isn't he, in the arms. You know, I'm not going to say the words in case this particular episode is particularly controversial for YouTube, but we all know what he's talking about. So he's going to move on to the more political aspects and the more academic arguments and denials. We're talking about denial, so academic denials. But it's interesting that here he describes his own innocence, his own testimony as having cancers metastasized themselves, but this has been metastasized by the mainstream media. Again, very clever language, you know, innocence turned into guilt, stories spun out of nothing, and my own open heart is my own downfall. I'm too honest for my own good, you know, all built into the language so that as much as this is a denial of a sex allegation, and I should be maybe more, screaming nonce from the towers at every opportunity, lynch him for being a nonce. As much as there is that overtone to this, I don't know the allegations, I don't know the ins and outs, haven't watched the documentary, will do, and we'll probably make a follow-up to say, I made my initial body language analysis, and now I've watched that documentary, don't I look silly? But, I'm impressed by the high caliber of the language, the selection of the words, the way they like, because that's what language is, a way of expressing yourself or explaining yourself or describing something. Yeah, like it's functional, but here it's being used at a higher level. I'm so impressed by whoever wrote this.
About it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal.
Transparency metastasized into something criminal. So initially the transparency is honest and it's truthful. Are you believing this?
That I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play?
We're pushing it into that other place. He's almost looking like Jordan Peterson these days, and that's not a good look, in my opinion.
Absolutely deny makes me question, Is there another
Makes me question. So from there on, we're getting the script now, and we're getting the anti-establishment script agenda and stuff like that. But
about it now as well? And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal.
I believe I'm getting a believe me expression here. It's not a full. It's not full. But I'm getting this peak of the eyebrows, this widening of the eyes. I think I'm getting a believe me expression. So that's not a good look either. You know, if you're tipping the scales, like we were doing on Genshin Impact in the courthouse the other day, if you're tipping the scales, this goes in against Russell, in my opinion, the believe me expression, at the idea that the innocence has been metastasized by the mainstream media into something carcinogenic, is like, that's not exactly what's happened, but he's going to try and pass it off as that's what's happened. Like, somewhere amongst what they've said, and there's a litany, as he said, there's a big list, so it's hard now to pick out, but my guess is obviously we're talking about the worst stuff, and the problem with that is that it feels like he's giving you false, he's misrepresenting the misrepresentation. He's giving you a false narrative of what's happened. They've taken something transparent from my past, they've metastasized it, and they've spun it into this lies. Believe me, honestly, I'm getting from that, rather than the truth is that they've taken something and spun it into out of nothing into something. I don't believe that as much from this statement, but that doesn't mean that the things he has done and they are bad. Like, you know, it doesn't mean anything specific here, because he's not being specific, so that's problematic for me as well, because I can't say, I'd like to say this means that, like, you know, specifically the bad things, he's denying them, but the denial comes across with a believe me look. But it's so, like, this is why I think the language is so clever as well, because it's so multi-layered. Like, we've stepped up in levels on the language. So the thing that he's giving me the belief, like the basic, the language is so complex and the body language is so kind of basic from sort of here up. Here up is a believe me expression, and then here down is like performance and, you know, doing what I'm told and keeping things under control. So not a good look, not a good look. Sorry to say it, Russell, but if someone were to take just that little clip and say to me, give me, you know, put your money, if you're in the casino and you've got to let it roll, you've got to let it ride, I'm putting my money on that denial is false. Whatever it is he's denying, whatever the thing is the papers have metastasized, actually did happen and was bad. Like, and he wasn't transparent about it. Like, or he wasn't transparent about it, or it wasn't metastasized and it was bad, or like something there that he's saying is clicking in his brain as, honestly, believe me. Like, but because it's so convoluted and wrapped up, I can't pick out which exact bit, so I have to just put my bet on problem rather than in the clear. You know, I would put my it's a medical term for the spread of cancer. Yeah. It's kind of weird that he's saying it, because it's like, if it were to metastasize, it'd be something that is there already, that has, like, the truth. Maybe it's a bad word that is used that belies a sense of guilt, because they've caused it to metastasize. It's like they've caused something that was already bad, cancer, to get bigger and out of control. But there was already something bad that was cancer, and, like, you know, it has metastasized. Like, yeah, it's a funny choice of word. He's trying to imply that the news media are cancer and they've created cancer out of nothing, but it doesn't work like that, and it doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't help either. So in some way, actually, my initial admiration of the eloquent language has turned to concern that it might be being used to cover things that are a bit more basic, and that it in itself is slightly what's the word when you self-implicatory. Yeah, I'm trying to use as bigger words as I can because I'm doing Russell Brand.
That I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attack.
And it's interesting that the denial came in midway through a sentence. It wasn't the feature of the sentence. It wasn't a full stop after the sentence, or a period if you're in America. It was part of a longer sentence that we now move on to this other concept. So yes, you've denied it. Like as an audience member, you know, I'm listening to see if he's denying this. I want to hear what Russell says, and if he's gonna, what's he gonna say about this thing they're saying about him. I've heard him deny it, but I'm letting that, like, that's going past on the river as I'm now on this other journey towards, you know, like I'm on the river, like that's gone past on the bank on our riverboat journey towards this other feature, which we're now gonna, I expect the final half of this video will be more about pushing a narrative and an agenda that he uses to create his own innocence, rather than directly addressing any more of the stuff, because it feels like we've really skimmed over the addressing of the stuff in a way. We've put it in there, like we stuck it in there amongst the sandwich. It's like there's a slice of tomato in there, which is the denial, but the rest of the sandwich is all piled on around it, and there's other stuff going on. So enjoy the full sandwich. You knew what a full stop was, but you know what I mean. Like Americans like to say that, don't they? So I thought I'd just.
Absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play?
Before we get onto that agenda as well, this is a 2-minute video called So This Is Happening, and it is his direct denial of the situation. I am admitting quite openly that I haven't read extensive media from Russell or anyone about this. I haven't watched the full documentary. I intend to, and then maybe do a follow-up on, you know, why I look so stupid in what I'm saying. But I hope people agree that a cold, again, put it in comments. Do you think a cold read is good, or should I have researched it first? And then
now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at...
What the fuck was I going to say then? I was halfway through a point. I wish I could rewind myself and see what I was just saying before, because I was just going to say something as well, but I've lost my mind.
During that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan, when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of, and we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language.
Again, we have this repetition of the premise of the body language. Confusion, anger, performative, signalling a sort of guilt. Oh, I can't understand it. What do you mean? No, I couldn't possibly. Me? Who, me? You can't mean me. I'm confused. Sorry, what? Does he mean me? Is he talking about me? Like this confusion about the allegation itself. How could it possibly be? I think that feels a bit like performative, indicative of guilt. But he's talking about Joe Rogan here, so like, you know, he is performing that act of being attacked. Like how Joe Rogan would be like, "What? I can't believe it," and like, you know, he's performing it. So that is like that. And we've got, but with Russell's stuff, it was open palm, like stuck on, like I said, it almost felt like things on a pinboard or like post-it notes up on a wall. But here we've got these headlines that are written in the air, that are up here, up on these things, like very visual with his illustrative hand gestures here. But smaller problems for Joe. Smaller, like these big headlines are smaller, like, you know, the world of Joe Rogan and his problems is smaller. Physically in the space that Russell presents in front of himself and creates. Interesting. Good night, Beth.
I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out, Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth. Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me, like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And
it's interesting you said to control these kind of spaces, because that's been a hallmark of what I've seen of his body language here, this controlling of space, moving his hands around in front of himself, and I think that totally ties up there. I think control of space, yeah, I agree with that as a concept. which is interesting because we're talking about whether you're going to get done for noncing or like, you know, R word. But Russell's recontextualizing it. Like I said, from that minute on, now we're going to get onto this sort of political agenda aspect of it about control of space. So there's an interest, like this is how this politics works, is that you've got something that you're upset or angry about. So you're upset and angry, good, right? Let's just twist it and let's make it about this other thing. Like, you know, we were talking about whether you were doing for the sex. No, now we're talking about control of media space, remember? So, yeah, but what about the bad thing? Oh, the bad thing goes into the folder of conversation about control of media space. So the bad thing itself is no longer like proper topic, is it? It's in the folder of being used as control of media space. So it can either be discounted or diminished because we're talking about this bigger problem, and it's part of the, like, you see what I mean? Like, it becomes a smaller building block as part of a bigger argument rather than the thing that you're talking about directly. So we're moving into a different space, and Russell likes to control the space. I'm getting from that. I wish I could remember what I was about to say over here, because I was at another point in my mind and I reiterated something and then I got lost in my brain. But
agenda at play, particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe.
Dover and Dolly's mum, does he usually talk so much with his hands? Yes, I would say. But we're used to seeing Russell Brand in situations where he is literally, you know, entertainment presenter. So flamboyant, extravagant, part of his nature. But I would say in general, yes. Certainly animated, like certainly if there's something that he's got that's like, this topic has to be considered passionate or heated in some way, doesn't it? So certainly in these contexts, yeah, I would say yes. But again, I think it matches up with the performer, so it's hard to say these are behaviours that are indicative of body language tells more than they are languages that Russell has learned to control space, to control conversation space, to make himself appear to be the, you know, it's all part of a bigger portfolio of, like, we are, like, identity's a funny thing, right? Identity's a funny thing. You can go to school with all your friends all day and they know who you are because they see you all day, yeah? And then you can go to, like, I don't know, hockey club and get in the hockey game and you might be a different person. Those hockey people might think of you as an animal. You might be out there, like, biting at everyone's ankles, slamming them off the things. Like, you might be an animal during the hockey game, and you might find something in you that you raise during that time. Like, hockey is to you this exhilarating extra, you put this extra in, you know, and you're a hockey animal. And even afterwards amongst the team and stuff, you know, you stand your ground and talk your talk and you're the big chuffer because, you know, everyone thinks you're an amazing super hockey player or whatever. And then, like, you know, you go back amongst your mates and you're not some super hockey animal. You're like, your identity is not changed, is it? You're still the same person the whole time, but two groups of people could see you in two very different ways based on how you perform your personality. And like, you can take that was an example of, like, you know, behavior, but like, think of this in a different way. Like, the best examples I've got are personal to me. Like, I used to work as a waiter, or a hairdresser was another good one. When someone comes through the door in the hairdressing salon, when I was young and new, I still had to get up and say, "Hi, nice to meet you, my name's Scott, would you like to come over here and take a seat? I'm going to be cutting your hair today." I couldn't be like, "Shit, I'm nervous. Hi, someone's going to come and help you." You know, because I've got to try and project my authority and confidence because I'm about to cut their damn hair. And, like, that kind of gets taught to you. Like, you know, most of us get taught to greet people with a handshake, and, you know, you get taught a sort of social self-confidence. Even if you're not feeling very confident, you, especially at work, especially in work environments, you fulfill the role. So you say, right, here I have to stand and say hello, and I have to do this conversation, and I have to, like, you know, so you can add elements to your personality. I'll do this with a smile. You know, I've read this in a book that if you talk with your hands and make these gestures, like Donald Trump does this and Tony Blair does this, and, you know, you can learn these behaviors, and so they then become part of the way you behave, right? Now, he might be doing this on camera and not so much at the fucking coffee shop, but he might be doing it to any human being whom he wants to impress or engage with, or, you know, he might have integrated it into his non-verbal vocabulary. You know, so this might be director's notes, or I think more with Russell is that he studied like not just the gurus and the mystics and like the ideas, because a lot of what Russell deals in is ideas. And like he said, you know, he's gone kind of right wing. He's gone kind of, I think he's gone kind of right wing myself. Like, surprised to me, not very impressed with it, but you know, he's gone kind of the way he's gone. It's all ideas, it's all conversations and ideas, but it's also presentation of those ideas. You know, it's also selling of those ideas. It's also performance of those ideas. So I think he's not just studied why the guru's a guru, like why a guru is a mystic leader because of the ideas. I think he's also studied this other thing, this charisma, this body language, this thing that made it. That's what got him in the door of entertainment. That's what entertainment is, essentially. You know, that's why he was better than other people at presenting the TV shows. That's why he was better than other people at engaging with the audience. That's why he was taken into the hearts of the nation for being a bit of an everyman and a bit of a. When I say everyman, I mean like not like if you can walk with kings and keep your virtue, nor walk with crowds, nor lose the common touch. You know, that thing. Like, you know, he's just as much at home in a football crowd, watching a game and going for a pint afterwards, as he is in a political conversation on Question Time with politicians on the news. He can. Certain characters within society have an ability to transcend every level and enter into any level. And Russell, one of the things that stamps this, that screams this, is his unusual dress sense and non-adherence to social norms of dress code. So Russell Brand dressed like Russell Brand and a bit like hip and cool and bohemian, whether he was you know, doing a community project to help feed the homeless or talking to a politician on the news. Like, Russell Brand looked like Russell Brand, and he doesn't have to adhere to these social norms because he contravenes them, and that's part of his character. So I believe things like that, you know, enter into it as well. I think he didn't get to where he was in his television career and entertainment career by mistake. I think he was in a position where he was like lots of other normal people, like, and unlike other normal people, actually doing a bit worse. He was drug addicted, and you know, Amy Winehouse. You know, she was a fantastic singer. London crowd, into the drugs, tragic, died too soon. Like, Russell's got a smatter the Winehouses about him, very talented, but his story nearly went the wrong way. You know, he nearly just was a nobody who got into drugs and fucking failed his life. But he managed to pull it around. Like, when I say drugs, I mean heroin, I mean bad drugs. He managed to pull it around, and through his ingenuity, like, it's almost like an emotional intelligence ingenuity of being able to say, right, like, I haven't got, I don't know if he's got a degree or anything, but I haven't got, you know, the means to, like, for me, I could say, okay, I can go and cut hair. I'm a hairdresser, I've got that qualification, I can go and do that. But for Russell, it's like, I've got the ability to make people laugh, I've got charisma, I can work on these aspects of my personality and stand out from the crowd and become this, like, star, I suppose, this entertainer, this star. And so he worked at that aspect of it, and it took work. You don't just wake up one morning and, okay, you can be funny, you can be cute, you can be smart, but the performance and everything else, like, I think it's something you work on. I think he's got talent, but I think he's worked on it. And so that work, like I said, it involves all this intelligence, this research, this thinking, these thought concepts, and it also involves this embodiment of it, this action, this ability to remember to put your hands up and to, you know, perform. So body language analysis, difficult, especially because of that. But really interesting to see it, yeah.
Of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out, Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth. Russell Brand did not kill himself.
And it's interesting there as well, bringing in you guys. Obviously, everyone watching is a man, apparently. I hate the word guys. I think it just fucks me off now. Like, oh, you stupid femboy, what are you on about? Like, no, honestly, like, it just seems like tired, like all you guys, but it's a very cute, childish sort of word. you know, we're all on your side, aren't we, guys, eh? And like, all you guys have been saying it. You said this was going to happen, and now you're right. So, like, I'm not a bad person. You said that it was going to happen. Like, it's tying you in, keeping you on side, making sure that we're all aware of whose side we're all on here.
I know that a year ago there was a...
Russell Brand didn't kill himself because Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That's going to get me demonetized now. Thanks very much for asking the question, but it's an internet meme. If you're getting close to the truth, then you're going to get Jeffrey Epsteined, and then they'll all be saying, you know, Russell Brand didn't offer. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're saying that in chat because he's about to be done by the CIA for getting too close. It's like a meme. Yeah.
Fate of our...
I didn't have to answer the question, but I did, and now I've said it, and now I'm pretty sure that's going to get me. Like, no, I thought this was going to be a good episode for uploading to Super Chuffer because you know, it is a good episode to upload to Super Chuffer. I'm sure they're going to enjoy watching it over there, but I'm a little bit you, everyone, us, we, guys, but I'm sure that the demonetization on it will be strong, so there won't be any AdSense coming in from this one. Let's just hope it gets a few views for the quality of the content, hopefully. Hopefully, if you're watching this and you think I'm saying something interesting or adding to this, you know, I'm just doing a live body. Like, some people poo-poo it, some people, I don't know. If you think I'm adding to this in any way, or you've got a comment, leave it in the comments. Hit the like. The subscribe costs you nothing. You've got a thumb, you press it. Even if you don't have a thumb, you can do it with your nose. Come on. I've got people with noses subscribing here now. Listen, there's people subscribing with their noses, and yeah, I'm all right. What? People with subscribing with their noses, yeah? Their noses. And have you pressed the button? You've got a nose, yeah? I don't... You can stay, it's all right. I know, I'll do what I want. Well, you don't press the subscribe though. What, with my nose? Why'd you have to be like this? Doing the face, are we now? We can all do the face. We can all do the face. Are you going to subscribe? Can we move on? What about the subscription though? If you press the button, I'll move on. And you. You. He means you. He means you. I mean you though. Me. You. You. They've pressed it now. Have they? Good.
Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist. Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me like there's a...
Someone behind the camera is going, calm the fuck down. Calm down.
Serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice.
Yes, my voice along with your voice. If I go down, you go down. What was it again? Noncing? No, listen. They're trying to take us all down. I said at the very start of this, I did a bit of a preamble, didn't I? And I said that there was a lady on Twitter, and I saw it on Twitter. I'm sorry that I can't remember. I didn't retweet it. I can't get it up now. I mean, I can get it up. I can get it up. I just can't get the quote from Twitter. Listen, she said that Russell had cultivated a group of people who were anti-media because he was always waiting for this day, and when it came, he knew that he could use those people to defend himself, and therefore his position was more safe. And I think, whilst it's a really interesting position, I don't know how much I agree with it, but here Russell very clearly shifting everything from the direct accusations about sexual misconduct on him to a fight between all of us and the news media. So if he goes down, you should feel equally one of your compadres is, you yourself are tied in. Like you and me, we're in this together, aren't we? It was almost, I tell you what's incredible about it as well, is this denial video. I suppose it is on his own channel. It is on his own platform. He is talking to people who, like most people are on their own platform, talking to people who in the main, not me unfortunately, but not all of us, but no, in the main, like talking to people who agree with us. They like the way we talk. That's why they're here on the platform. And if you do, you've already subscribed. So like that thing it's almost implicit in this, isn't it? So maybe it is fair that he's saying you and me and us and we're together on this. But in another way, it feels pretty presumptuous, almost arrogant to assume that the people that are watching are on your side and agree with you, especially in a case like this, where you would assume a lot of people would watch this to gauge whether they believe your denial, and maybe some of them are on the fence, or maybe some of them have already got you pegged, sorry, not pegged like Will Smith pegged, I mean just, got you tagged for being a naughty rotter. Maybe I shouldn't demean it and dilute it like that. Naughty rotter's a silly way to say sex offender, isn't it? But you know what I mean. So it's clever that it's already implied again in the statement, and now we're shifting things in this direction. And then there was a heavy edit as well.
Or at least it feels to me like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my book.
Wow, actually, my voice along with your voice. So it's not him that's being silenced, it's you that's being silenced, and now he's being dragged into it with you. So, if anything, he's trying to fight the fight for you, and now he's getting attacked. So, if anything, right, you should be double protective of him, because he's come in to shield you from this bad news media, and now they've turned on him. It's your fault. He was protecting you. So I don't like that. That's manipulative.
It feels to me like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations.
Almost shaking with the hand when he did that. And he did 1 and then 2. But again, fear. Watch his hand that he does this with. I'll play it again in real time. Watch that shake.
Seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also,
it's very hard. It's slow, but there's like a tremble in it. And it's interesting that he does this first. Very, and he does the okay. Now, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to say this, but some people are going to critique this, right? You're right in chat. Did I miss something? Just mute that part here. There's something that I'm a bit confused about here, right? In America, you've got the Proud Boys, and you've got like a right-wing right-wing anti-establishment agenda politics. And for a while there, they were angry about symbology in the media, and they took the OK sign. And the 4chan users, the Proud Boys and people like that, they started putting the OK sign out on social media. And the joke was that you can't rebrand the OK. We're going to rebrand the OK sign as a right-wing nationalist symbol by using it all the time. And then the left-wing media will, by being so super woke, they will eradicate that from the, you can't do this anymore. And then that's stupid because everyone does this all the time because it's okay and it's just, okay. And since then, it's been used as a sort of media dog whistle. And you can never critique someone for doing this because he might not have been using it as a media dog whistle. But to some people out there on the internet, I think we can all agree, am I wrong into saying this? Or to some people, hang on, OK sign racist. If I just do that in Google, OK hand sign added to list of hate symbols 2019. The OK hand sign has been added to a list of hate symbols. A popular emoji. The US anti-hate group says overwhelming usage of the hand gesture is still to show approval that someone's okay. Therefore, we can't jump to conclusions. But look, it's here being used by Proud Boys as a symbol, yeah? It's kind of ridiculous. There's one, isn't it? A murder suspect who flashed it. That was famous. It had a bit of, trend a little while ago. It's not really used in that controversial way in the media so much anymore. Or the story's not still pushed around, is it? That was 2019. Yeah? But we're in 2023 now and we don't still talk about that. It was just a thing for a bit. But I wonder whether people in this news media setting I've seen it before from some other broadcasters in this setting, where people are watching Russell from that part of the world, from that part of the political agenda, and to every other normal person that might just seem like an innocuous hand gesture, but by doing it, it might also be shown to be a dog whistle to some far right groups of secret symbolic approval, and that Russell can't be criticised for this because he's not attaching it to any particular point that he's making or anything like that. He's not even doing it in any particular politicised way, but it's there in the video and he does it for a brief moment, and it seems weird because he's doing this instead of this, which would be the taught political. Instead of making a point and wagging your finger, you use your knuckle like that. You point with your knuckle and you put your thumb on top and you do that. That's how you do that. So it's not the correct media taught thing to do this. I don't know. Like, am I tripping, or is that like, you know, you'd have to tell me in comments on this video, which will become a video on YouTube. You'll have to tell me in comments or now in chat as well what you think, whether I'm completely off the wall with that, or whether that, I mean, it was there in the past, you know, it's there in the news, like it existed for a while as a controversial subject, and as I've said, it was deliberately done because you can't ban the OK symbol and they're just being silly. So what are you going to do? Ban the OK symbol, and it creates really interesting conversations and questions about use of symbols and symbolism in the media. You think it's a deep theory? I mean, I don't know. I just saw it and I said it, and then I've got the shaking, like the actual adrenaline pump, the one and the two.
Promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations.
Where he says allegations. What, see when I'm doing it slowly, look at how wobbly his fingers are there. Right, they're wobbling around these serious criminal allegations. And again, we're not quite nailing it on the head exactly what they are, but he's saying them and we know what they are. They put the shits up him. Either angered to the point of fucking really angry about this, or anxious, but not anxiety. I'm on camera and I'm, you know, talking about some serious shit here, but actual worry, actual fear. I'm again, my big overarching feel on this is fear from Russell.
Allegations. Also,
and you get an edit again, but strangely and almost incredibly, the edit his hands are basically in the same position. So when you do a read through, you'd say the thing several times. Like, let's say we did a read through of this and we did it 3 times. Fair enough. But let's say you did the read through and every time you did the same hand gestures in the same places. Bit more, you know, that's a bit more like a full on performance, isn't it? It's really weird because we nearly missed an edit earlier. Like, we saw an edit go by and I didn't call it out immediately. I had to go back and notice it. And it's because the frames are so close that you can almost miss the edits. Like, it doesn't look like a jump cut almost, but it is. And like, it feels like one cohesive piece, but it's not. Again, I think it's like showing this level of media polish. Like, which I would rather not have. I'd rather just have authenticity. So
refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narratives that these 2 mainstream media outlets are trying to construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack.
Again, big long sentence there, when what we should have said is, I'm innocent, I've got witnesses. And instead we've got witnesses that contravenes. Like, hang on, wait. Witnesses? Apparently we've got witnesses now. That's quite an important drop, but like, it turned out the most important thing was that the media are attacking me. Coordinated media attack was the most important thing. I think the weight is wrong in that sentence and the placement of it, especially when I've got witnesses. Like I can't believe we're 2 minutes and a half into this. If you're innocent because you've got witnesses, then the witnesses go front and center. They get them out. I don't know why I'm even talking. Speak to the witnesses. Like, let's get them out front and center. Like, no, you're dropping it in there as part of your narrative that you're being attacked and you've got witnesses. It felt like that was more narrative based. Like, it's funny he used the word narrative in that little statement bit that felt more like a construction of a narrative in itself. The narrative from his side is I'm being attacked. There were witnesses. The narrative from their side is you've done a bad thing. Like, for some of these crimes, I don't know if there were witnesses. I suppose if they didn't happen, there wouldn't be witnesses because they didn't happen. But you know what I mean? Like, some of them sound like quite personal, private events. So I'm a bit surprised that they were all witnessed. So maybe that will come out. Maybe I'll be proved right or wrong. You know, maybe Russell will be proved right or wrong on that about the witnesses. But it seems shocking to me that you would do this whole video and that would completely exonerate you. Witnesses, to all accounts, to all events, exonerate you. Not dodgy witnesses that you've paid, but you know, proper ones. Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? But the worry here is that it's been sort of sewn in as a thread, as part of a building statement about the media attacking him. So it feels more like something that after the event of watching this video later, when I talk about it in the pub, I might say, yeah, but he's got witnesses, hasn't he? Oh, does he? I didn't know that. Yeah, I think what he said he said he did, didn't he? It was in the video, I think. You know, rather than front and centre, hi, I'm Russell Brand, I've been accused of, tell them what happened. You know, rather than that, we've got, oh yeah, I've got witnesses and they're attacking me, but nothing specific there, so I don't like it again. And the problem with this, let's be fair, I've been quite kind to Russell over the course of my analysis here, as a person, as a character, you know, as a entertainer over the years. I think reasonably highly of him. I admire him in lots of ways, but this stuff, not happy with. I've got too many marbles in the tray on the scales that are weighing me on the wrong side now, and I didn't intend it in that way. It's like a boxing match, this is. It's like I've just scored the scorecard as we've gone, and then I'm adding up the rounds, and it looks like you're well behind on points here.
Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together.
That's a repetition.
Apparently, in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further.
There was nearly a smile there. Wasn't there? There was nearly a bit of the old smiley, happy-go-lucky Russell there. Like, because we're through it now. I'm not, like, that's all the things I needed to say. I'm not going to get into any more specifics. So there's a sense of relief. It's really like a micro thing, isn't it? And it's when the eyes seem to sing with the face a little bit more. The side of the mouth starts to come up slightly. A smile of relief. Now I'm through that. I've said that. I'm not going to get into the specifics, which is a shame because I think we'd rather you were able to refute the specifics. But this short video, to all those that watch Russell, there will be how many? This is 6 million subscribers and this is 1.5 million views. So out of 1.5 million people, there will be a pie chart, and a big chunk of them will agree that because they're already primed for this. Like that woman on Twitter said, despite whether I believe he saw this coming or not, he is in a situation where his audience think that he's going to be attacked by the mainstream media. So there'll be a great chunk of people who are on his side. He will have got a chunk of people people like me, I suppose, who think, I don't know about this. Maybe you should go into specifics. I don't know. This hasn't won me over necessarily. This has made me a bit more worried. But the intent here is to simply... It's almost like he's doing this with the hands all the time. Like, is to get hold of the situation, get hold of the, the, the group and make sure that they have heard the statement, that we're happy we're behind Russell and we're all going to move forward. All right, guys? And I guess hope is part of this expression as well now towards the end. In the comments, we're going to have a lot of things saying positive things about Russell, aren't we? Honestly, dude, it's surprising it's taken them this long to try and shut you down. I mean, I'm not a shill. I'm on nobody's side here. And like I said, I haven't made up a decision about what Russell's been doing. Haven't even watched the documentaries and the allegations. Maybe that could be held against me for doing the read, and maybe it can't, whatever. Put it in the comments. But this echo chamber of social media, it's like this. It's going to be quite likely that people are going to be supportive of him in the comments, isn't it? So a lot of them think he's being cancelled and it's unfair. I'm willing to believe that as well. You know, I'm willing to say, I don't know what, so he could be completely innocent. Don't take from me that Scotty Hottie said in a body language thing that's Russell. No. He could be completely innocent, but I've seen signs of, rather than signs of deception and lies and, rather than pure yes or no, I've seen a lot of fear, anxiety, not anxiety, but fear and desperation to control a situation. And more from the media newspaper. At the start he was doing that. And then this one newspaper, there's a whole load of things, but this one newspaper has got this one thing that he's fucking scared about. This was a couple of days ago. 3 days ago this video came out. I should have been on it quicker, but I wonder if he's got control of that. I wonder how his anxiety is about that now. I wonder if that anxiety will persist into the future. Whether things, what that one thing is, I really felt like there was something. It was one of the more serious allegations. And I don't think he really directly covered it. I think, again, lots and lots of clever language. Let's let them finish it. Let's let him finish it. Say them, because obviously he said we on this channel. I'm going to say them. Let's let them finish it out and see what we've got.
To construct, apparently, in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are
edited and repetition.
Obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious.
We're going to look into this matter. I think this is the sort of political language that this is fucked up, really. Russell, anti-establishment. It annoys me so much, really, in a way. But it's the kind of, it's like the Play-Doh machine of our political system. Like, you're anti-establishment, yeah? But when shit like this goes down, you're going to do the political toolkit language, like political media toolkit. So this is the same as if a politician got busted having an affair or something. They would say, we're going to look into this. When a politician gets absolutely hauled over the coals for doing so, we're definitely going, there'll be an inquest. There'll be an inquest. Oh, you mark my words. I'll be conducting a full inquest. Yeah, but you've done the bad thing. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking at, we'll absolutely have an inquest on this and determine the fault, who's at fault. Or you're at fault. No, we'll determine that at the inquest. It feels like the contrived political language of the class, the ruling class, the elitist class that Russell undermines. So that's surprising.
And plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious.
And that's infantilizing or treating the audience like children. Oh, it's very, very serious. You're fucking damn right it's serious. Oh, we're going to look into it. Oh, are you? They said you've done an R word.
But I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free. Hello there, you awakening one.
Right, and then they cut it right at the end, like very quick as well. They're all the slogans, aren't they? Everyone's got their own little sign off, whatever. But for some reason today, with those screens behind him, those slogans for me feel very, and there's a camera on the upper corner there looking at me. like looking at me. I feel very Big Brother is watching me here in this one. And I'm getting the vibe from Russell, who's supposed to be on my side, but I'm feeling like okay, this is absolutely incredible. I'm going to say this, and I hope that some people who end up watching this are of the anti-establishment persuasion, because we have got to be really careful that they don't feed to us heroes that are puppet heroes that we're not being herded and led by people. Like, people talk about shills, don't they, and stuff like that, and people find it hard to trust different people, but Big Brother in 1984, Big Brother, the people don't just fear the party, they don't just fear the boot of oppression, they love Big Brother. Like, that is understated maybe when we think about 1984. Like, a lot of people think about 1984 and it's all about the totalitarian state and the brutality, Room 101 and the worst things ever. Love is a huge theme in the book, though, and Winston's love, his romantic escape, is the beauty in the book, is the divinity in the book. Of course, it's brutally destroyed, isn't it? Like, brutally destroyed, and so is he. All along the way in that story, Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother, war is peace, freedom is slavery. Oh, that's like Big Brother these days with all these cameras and, the oppressive nature of the state. That's the takeaway, isn't it? The oppressive nature of the state. And it's a warning shot. But interestingly, Big Brother is the people that live in Airstrip 1, they do love Big Brother. Like, Big Brother is there from when you're born to then when you die, and you do the 3 minutes hate, but you love Big Brother. Like, the party is, the sinister aspects, the young people that maybe are going to spy on you and all this. Like, it's all sinister, and the vid screen and the victory gin and like the shame and the horror of it all. But Big Brother is watching you because he's watching over you, and is a benevolent. Like, that's where you get your victory gin. It's where you get your victory cigarettes. It's what's holding back the line of the Oceania War, and it's Big Brother is the strength and the security, and you love Big Brother. Like, even though Big Brother is also emblematic of the party that holds you down with its boot. And I always used to read, when I read 1984, of which I've read it a number of times, it did used to trouble me, like Big Brother, like the love Winston has for Big Brother, like, and they all, I used to think, oh, why do they put up with this shit in society? Obviously it's a book and it's a story, and like, Winston's a bit woke, isn't he? But by today's standards, Winston a bit woke. But like, Winston wants for something different and something more, and I would assume that the members of the party and everyone else would, but they don't, do they? They're horrible people who want just for everyone else's misery, and they're brought up like that, the little horrible brats, and that's the sort of evolution of society, is that the mean people are succeeding, and Winston is trodden underfoot, and his kindness is made to turn his life to terror, and then left like a husk. But Big Brother is there watching you. You love Big Brother, right? And I was always thinking, so why don't they just fucking revolt? Why doesn't everyone revolt? Like, and it's not just because they're all sadistic. It's also because, like, you get used to a norm and you hold on to the hopes, and like, Big Brother is that, the hopes, and like, that's why they project Big Brother into the homes. That's why Big Brother's on the posters. And so I used to think, like, you imagine the picture of Big Brother, right? You imagine, or maybe I'm wrong in this, or let's just see if I'm wrong. Let's just see if you're the same as me, if we're the same as each other. But I think of, when I think of Big Brother's watching you, I think of this is Field Marshal, well, I don't know what his fucking name is. Isn't this a real person, like Field Marshal somebody? I'm gonna have to find out now. who is in the picture. James Montgomery Flagg painted it as one of the Uncle Sam. You've got Uncle Sam in America, but in the UK we had one for the British Army. Britain's We Need You. Field Marshal Lord Kitchener, of course, Kitchener. So when I think of Big Brother is watching you, Big Brother on the posters in the book, that's the vision that came to mind. And it's because I lived in a world where this was an iconic image. Your country needs you. Big Brother is watching you. The point is you. Like, and it was during the war. This person wasn't there to persecute you. Like this kind of stern-faced, very strong, quite serious, accusatory almost, but not there to persecute you. Your country needs you to protect your country. We're all in this together, and this is strength, and this is unity, and this is, yeah, and this is the strength in society. So feel secure because of it. And when I imagine Big Brother is watching you, I imagine this picture, this sort of poster. And so that sternness to the gaze, that accusatory aspect, and the fact that in the book so many are crushed underfoot by the party. You don't want to be watched by Big Brother. I fucking like the 3 minutes hate against what's his name? Goldberg, is it Goldberg? Anyway, the 3 minutes hate, like, you're sort of mobilised to hate this enemy, but I would think that the daily grind of having to have Big Brother watching you would make you hate Big Brother more. Like, when I read the book, I hate Big Brother. Like, I wish for Winston's solace and peace, and sadly Winston is not a proactive, like, fight the system sort of hero, is he? He doesn't bring things down. There's no action sequence where he destroys the party or anything. Like, he's ground down by the machine, and Big Brother represents that. So I see him as a sinister foe, almost like this sort of. And this is the British person who's supposed to be taking it, like, same deal, like, sort of sinister. Like, maybe I don't want to be. Maybe you don't need me. Maybe I don't want to do what you say. Stop pointing at me. Fuck off, you. Big Brother watching me. Fuck off, Big Brother watching you. Big Brother watching me. However, in 1984, they love Big Brother. And it's because Big Brother is a benevolent Big Brother. Someone you can trust. Someone who offers you security and guidance and is holding back the enemy forces and is always on your side and make sure you've got cigarettes and there's not much, you have to ration it, but Big Brother is there for you. The way they spin society, the rationing, in 1984, and similarly, the way we're being spun things today in a way is enjoy it. It's good for you. We're doing the right thing for you. Thank us. Incidentally, we're cutting the rations down this week. But it's for your own good. So, you'd all get a little bit of chocolate, but thank us for the chocolate, Don't bite the hand that feeds. Feel grateful that you're getting something anyway. Like, it's a funny, fucked up system. But because of it, like, Big Brother is the source of all good as well. They love Big Brother. And it makes me feel, how do you get... I used to think... You see what I'm coming round to here, can't you? I used to wonder, how did Big Brother get to be loved? I used to picture this poster and think, I wouldn't love Big Brother. And reading the book, I don't love Big Brother. Fuck you, Big Brother. Watching me, let's smash the video screens. But what if you didn't want to smash the video screens? What if you loved Big Brother? What if Big Brother watching you, or you watching... These days, more than ever, it's us watching Big Brother. But I love the fact that Russell's got the camera up there on the right-hand side, and he's got the video screens. Like, almost like he's got CCTV on in the background of everyone's garden. But, like, there's a sense and an element here of Russell building his own Big Brother brand. You trust him. He's the voice you listen to. Big Brother's watching you. Like, you love Big Brother. Like, certainly this video, this denial, is designed for those that do. And my point here, bringing it back to what I was sort of pointing at is that we have to be careful as anti-establishment people that, and I'm not saying Russell is a shill, okay, but I'm saying that I think people have their own interests at heart sometimes, and harnessing a group of people on the internet for having a lot of people watching your videos because of the things you're saying, agrees with and resonates with them, is a strong position to be in. And whether it is your own personal politics and whether you do totally believe it, or whether it's important that you have this thing to keep saying because at the time and the moment this is the thing, like, you know, that's a different story. It's very, very interesting, that whole thing. It's about trust, I suppose. And now I finally, more than ever, realise how people loved Big Brother. Because Big Brother, to them, was on their side. What do you think of that? Did he do the bad sex things on this reading? He's really scared of it. I think there's probably something else. You know, I haven't gone through and seen who said what here, yeah? But it's personal business, this sort of stuff. You know, it happens between people in personal circumstances, doesn't it? You know, it's a very personal crime. So I think he's afraid of the people and what they've got to say. I don't think everything's been said. Certainly when this video has been made. I don't think everything's been said. And I think people have got some things to say behind the scenes that he's scared of. And then here's another step in the whole thought process, which would be, do they want money? Do they want paying off? Will this be an out-of-court settlement? Will it be an NDA? You know, where does this go behind the scenes? I get the feeling, because of the way this whole thing was contrived and heavily edited, that this is now in the hands of a team of people who are going to work, and it, you know, rights, wrongs, truths, and all that kind of get pushed completely aside, and instead control is being taken of this thing, like almost like a load of files on a table, like this. Like he does this all the time with the hands, doesn't he? Like, group of people round a table controlling this situation for Russell, and it will play out based on their handling of it and the response of the people that are making the allegations based on whatever his team offer or discuss with them. So I think one thing I can agree with is that he's not going to talk about this any further or get into any details. He's going to just leave that like it is and hope that enough of the people that watch this continue to follow him. And fortunately for him, as we said at the very start, the anti-media agenda of his content means that he is in some way insulated against media attacks simply by merit of saying, of course they were going to say this. And it leaves us to decide what we want to believe, or what I say want to, I suppose, yeah, what we choose to believe, or what we believe. So I've got to watch documentaries on him, and I've got to, you know, see some of the accusations in more clarity before I'll say what I think and believe about the situation. However, I'm glad that I did the read cold without any of that, because now I'm not biased, I suppose, by those accusations. I just wanted to know, when I see the man and what he says, does he come across genuine? Is he looking like he's sorry? Is he looking like he feels... like, the problem with the fear as the main thing is it could be innocence and fear, because you could be innocent but really scared of losing everything. Or it could more likely, and the problem is because of the edits and the other little flags, like I said, the marbles kept tipping in this other direction. It feels like there's something out there that could really, that he's really scared of, that's legit. Like, the reason you're scared is because it's legit. Like, like, let's say, for example, someone starts coming forward and making accusations, and you don't know what it is they're saying because you've never heard them, because they're made up, yeah? And you're like, what? Like, you're not going to be lying in bed thinking, I wonder what they're going to say tomorrow. They could say this, they could say that. They could say fucking anything. Anyone could at any time say anything, couldn't they? So you don't generally go around worrying about a piano falling on your head. you know. But if a certain set of allegations and people coming forward has led to a situation where you're lying in bed thinking, this one piano is hanging precariously above my head, I hope that doesn't fall. That's going to be like, you know, making you worried. And I think that's the sort of situation we're in here. And it might even be that the allegations that he's denying, like he said, some of them are a bit silly, some of them are a bit this. He's not so worried about what's on the table right now, but he might be particularly scared about something that is also in his past. Like he might have some sort of guilt over some sort of action. And this is bad for him because what we're talking about is sex problem deviance. So I think that's a worry, is that the fear looks like it's born of a guilt. So that's my read on that. Where's the clipboard? Subscribe and, you know, and all that business. This channel needs a push. 10k, road to 10k. Come on, share it with someone who likes Russell Brand or hates me or, you know, gets eggy about stuff. Put it on your Facebook, you nutter. Be good, and if you can't be good, you're naughty. But we're still here because that's not the end. But 2.5 hours, fucking hell, that's a bit of a... That would have made... Do you know what? I'm such an idiot. That would have made a good stream, wouldn't it? On the main